Hey, what's up, everyone? My name's Lionel. I'm your host for LT Productions, and you are watching I Watch You Watch. We are covering Beyond the Gates. Of course, this is season one. This is week 5, and I'm giving you my weekly review of all the 5 past episodes. I appreciate everyone for coming to my channel. Like this video and also subscribe. You can share it, and you can leave your comments below. So let's get into these episodes. Okay, so this week I think was meaty in a way of fleshing out some characters to kind of exercise their acting abilities on certain things. No, it wasn't the flashy, dramatic stuff that was happening over this week, but there's been a lot of commentary and different conversations happening that are kind of moving story along. Haley's getting a little bit feisty. Looks like she's stepping into the role of Bill's wife and needing to do everything to protect Bill. Now, we've seen Haley try to, if you want to say, stick up for the Duprees, or at least try to alleviate some guilt. And when Bill was doing wrong towards them, she would step in some occasions. But now, since she has the ring, and now it's time to my man, my man, my man, my man. Even though later on in the week, she gets a little surprise. Okay, so we start off this week where the chief of police, who is Jacob's father, meets Anita. And I don't know how many people thought of this, but as soon as Anita announced Jacob's father's name, she said, Elon. I said, Elon? Did anyone else think that? Or was that just me? Anyways, it was just odd. Like, oof. Anita asked about his wife, who is Jacob's assuming mother, Darlene. Darlene is a dispatcher for the police department. It doesn't seem like anytime soon she's going to be walking away as far as retirement. It looks like they're at the age of maybe they should be retired, but they don't really know what to do after retirement, so they stay in their jobs. That's what I'm getting. That's in my head a little bit. We learned that they have another son, Luke, who is also on the police force. Later on in the week, we'll hear Malone or Marcel, whoever his name is, calls Jacob the golden child. So I wonder if we're going to start seeing Luke later on in the future. Is there any type of competition between Luke and Jacob? Luke is straight-laced. Jacob is very straight-laced. I wonder if Luke is a little bit more complicated. Who knows? So there's this charity that Anita is running. It's for the Fallen Soldiers Fund. She wants to be hands-on. Elon was treating it more like, okay, I will send this on, and I see that you kind of thought that it was going to be a shallow thing for Anita. She said, no, I take pride in charity, and I'm going to give you the Anita Dupree experience. So I think that that's really cool to know the hearts of Vernon and Anita. And it's not just, oh, let's write a check. No, they get in the mud and get in the dirt with you. I think that Vernon, in my opinion, humbles Anita because of Vernon's life and what he chose to do with his life, which was a part of civil rights and then also fight for humanity in the community. We'll learn later on in the week about Anita's contribution to building up a community. So it's great. It's great to see that out of Anita. And I'm loving that we're getting different little tidbits here about different ones. But that's enough chatting there. So they have that conversation. They talk a little bit about Jacob and his duty he had to do against Danny and all that. But then Elon leaves. Jacob and Naomi, they talk. She brings him breakfast. He kids and says, I guess that's how I put it down on you. It's why I'm getting this breakfast. And of course, it's more like, you crazy. Which they have not been doing lately. So I need Miss Lawyer and Mr. Cop to get them handcuffs out. At least for us to see. On camera. But Jacob's also senses something, and he asks her, are you good? And she talks about, the case that she's potentially taking on. She doesn't know if she wants to do it because the media attention towards their family and what has been rolling out with Danny and Bill over the months, she really feels like she's also wanting to be low-key as far as how she deliberates in court cases. Jacob says, well, I know you want to be low key, but I think that your father's business has some secrets that deserve to be exposed. We move on to Miss Veronica and Doug. They're having dinner or lunch or whatever, and he gets a text from Randy asking where he's at. He needs to be at the casino. Veronica says that's not some side chick or side piece that you're communicating with. He said, no, there's no side piece. So then he covers as far as with this whole Randy situation and says that he's ordered a new piece of equipment. It's a cardio CT scan that's like high top notch scanning. What did he say? Lord. But basically, you can really see really clear at whatever you are trying to examine and scan. Veronica says, well, since you bought that, that's probably could wipe you out of business and all that, you know. He says that he's not worried about that. Possibly that is his way of kind of covering as to where his funds are going. I don't know. So Doug leaves because he has to go. He says he doesn't know when he's going to be home. And Veronica does not put up a fight or anything because she got to do what she got to do. So as Doug leaves, Joey shows up. And of course, she's trying to yell at Doug like, you left your ID. So anyways, Joey gets Veronica's attention. And he wants Veronica to help him with something with the prospect, and it's basically to put his mother into a good home that's handicap accessible. Wouldn't it be better to get her into an assisted living complex unless you're able to afford 24-hour care for nurses and all that good stuff? But hey, whatever. Veronica gladly takes him on. At the same time, Doug comes back into the restaurant and sees Joey and Veronica communicating. And he gets caught up to speed that Joey wants Veronica to be his realtor. And he was like, well, I think that you really have enough of a client's list that you can't really add anyone. Joey said, well, good that she's already added me on, so I'm good as done as far as being her client. And then, what did he do? Anyways, he ended up leaving again. But I think kind of ruffled Veronica's feathers a little bit, seeing how Doug was acting in front of him. Anyways, Chelsea and Kat, they do this social media video, and they talk about their whole line. It's not going to just be about purses. They're going to have a luxury line, but be affordable at the same time. Kat says, well, I think Chelsea had said that her social media has been blowing up since Danny's thing at the wedding and then arrest. And Kat was like, you ought to jump in on that and announce the purse line. But, of course, Chelsea is still nervous about telling her mom. And Kat says, you need to quit stalling with your mom. And they end up practicing at how she's going to tell the mom. And, of course, she's just worried about what's going to happen to Danny because she lives vicariously through her daughter, through this modeling thing. And she doesn't want to break her. Eve is at the hospital. And she sees Thomas. So she ends up running into some type of equipment, acting like the damsel in distress, and Thomas comes running after her as she bumps her leg or thigh or whatever. So then, what I noticed, did y'all notice that? You see Eva poke out her booty so that Thomas would stare? I was like, you ain't nothing nice. Ain't no good, Eva. Anyways, she said, I know that we can't really talk together because I know that you're with Kat and all that. Thomas says, we're keeping it casual. She says, oh, that's good to know. But she does say, Eva keeps mentioning Kat just to make sure we're testing the waters to see what's going on over there. And he was like, why every time? Oh, Thomas asked, why you keep name dropping Kat? She says, well, I see you with her all the time. And really, even if we wanted to start something up, I don't want my job to be in jeopardy. But I will let you know that Kat is a lucky girl. Who's next? All right. Jacob and Naomi. Jacob asked Naomi as she's trying to figure out what she wants to do about this whole father business lawsuit. What's holding you back? And she says the press will overshadow even what the women are going through. She doesn't want that to happen because of her name and all that good stuff. He does say, I don't think I'm the one to tell you. I think there is someone that could tell you what to do. So Joey, Okay, never mind. Anita and Naomi. Naomi goes over to Anita, and she just tells what's on her heart in regards to going up against Bill. She tells him what's happening and all that, according to rumors that are around. She's worried about the press. Anita was like, "What? And you're worried about if you can beat Bill?" And Naomi's like, "You don't think I could beat Bill?" Like, no, I'm just holding up a mirror to your face about the convictions that you are having right now. She gives more examples. You are picturing yourself as a delayed David and Goliath type of situation. He has more resources. David fighting up against Goliath and don't even have a slingshot. Um, and Anita said, "Do you want to know what I think?" And Naomi said, "Yes, I think you are more than capable. Capable. A Dupree woman." She talks about the nature of a Dupree woman, as far as when a Dupree woman has uh, decided to take her place and position. Um, Whenever they decide to do something, they will move mountains. And basically, you're just more than capable. So Kat and Thomas, they have a little lunch date. Kat says, I expected you to be distanced. He was busy and all that good stuff, and she was busy also. Thomas had to call her out on that as he was trying to make him feel a certain way about not being available. So it looks like Kat was trying to put up this wall too, in my opinion. Um, and then Kat just asked, "Do you think I'm weird for being a virgin?" And Thomas said, "Not at all. I think it's commendable that you have decided this. This is your boundaries and all that. And stick to it. Da 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 da." So Jacob gets back to the station and talks with his dad, Captain Elon, or Chief of the Police, Elon. He's asking Elon, "What can you tell me about Marcel?" Um, he basically said, "Look, Marcel's been around the block. He definitely knows what is what around the police department and how to solve cases and all that good stuff. I think it's best for you to give Marcel some leeway. He gets results." Um, and Jacob said, "Well, if he gets results, I think it's funny that he's looking away from Joy Armstrong taking this money in a dark alley." So Elon says, "You have a strange feeling and all that good stuff, but this generation goes by vibes and not by facts. Unless you have some concrete evidence as him doing something sketchy, leave it alone." Um, Marcel's way of handling things is that he knows when there's something solid to go after, and possibly that's why he did not go after Joey, and then going after a wild goose chase. So, as Joey leaves Veronica, Diego walks up. And Diego asks, "You go from robbing the cradle to robbing graves." Oh, Diego's already upset. Uh, he asked Veronica, "I thought that we had something special." And she says, "I see and do whatever I want. We aren't, I don't claim you like that. You don't claim me like that. And I never said that we were just exclusive side pieces." So Diego says, "What do you want right now? Do you want me, the old guy, or your husband?" And Veronica says, "That depends on um, if you're still up for this workout." And I knew automatically it was about sex. Later on, they go on and have sex again. Doug and Randy. Oh, Doug tells Randy about seeing Joey with his wife, and doesn't like what he saw. Randy was like, "I don't think you need to pay attention to that. I think it's on the up and up and all that stuff. Let's get you onto the casino." Anita encourages Naomi some more and tells her, the Dupree women do not back down from a challenge, nor do they let anyone dim their light. Um, Later on at the casino, Doug is having a good night and all that good stuff, and it looks like how things are going, Doug could win all of his money to pay back Joey in full, and he can't really have that. He's like, "Well, free men don't make good puppets, and I need to have control over him. So he can win today, but tomorrow it's going to be a different story." Oh, Chelsea and Jacob, they run into each other, and Chelsea was trying to get advice on how to talk to Danny about what she needs to talk to him about. How do you break the ties between parents and manager in that type of way? he says, that's harder to navigate through, but you can make things happen. Um, Elon goes to Marcel. I think his name is Malone. Is his last name? Um, he basically says, back off my son. We can't have you leave Jacob asking questions about you that I cannot answer. And then he says, I'll back off. It made me think that Elon was in on something with him. But I don't know. It was just sketchy at how he was talking. If he would have just said, leave my son alone or whatever, cool. But whatever. I don't know. I'm going to stick a pin right there as far as Mr. Elon. Hopefully he's on the up and up and not on whatever Malone is on. This is Marcel. Kat and Chelsea, they talk a little bit more. Kat is thinking about giving up the cookie. And Chelsea's like, well, do you love Thomas? And she said, no. Well, then don't just give it up. You'll know when it's time to give it up. I hope that Kat gets the experience that she wants and not just giving it up, and then next thing you know, just like a Lifetime movie, all hell breaks loose after you give it up. I think Malone calls Joey and he asks, what do you want? He says, stop making stupid mistakes, especially for a rookie cop to who's wanting to make a name seeing you take money in a strange alley like that. And then all of a sudden Joey says, that's what I paid you to do. And he hangs up on Malone. So obviously, as I thought that there was some type of training day type of situation happening. So in the next episode, Danny struggles emotionally after Chelsea reveals her plans. First, she was a little bit devastated, but she said, go, I understand. I had my career, and I chose what I chose. And I'm proud of you. She rips up the contract that she had formulated for Chelsea with this modeling gig, and it was all good. Vernon and Anita confront Martin in regards to what they know Martin is trying to do. He's trying to run for president. And they said, absolutely not. We got two. If Obama can be scrutinized for smoking weed in college, what do you think that they're going to do to you, Martin? Especially with the secret that you were holding and having all these nightmares about. And Vernon's put his foot down and said, absolutely not, you're not doing this. Martin says, you know what, you've always taught me to dream the impossible dream. And right now you're trying to knock me down as I'm trying to go up. And he said, look, whatever you think or whatever you want me to do, I'm doing the opposite. You can still stay a night in Capitol Hill once I make it to a presidential status. Meanwhile, Smitty is there and he hears it. I don't know if the grandparents heard him or not. I have a question. Why does it seem like Anita and Vernon raised Martin? They act like his parents more than Nicole and Ted. And I've actually never seen a scene with Ted and Martin, like together. There's no personal scene. He was at the wedding anniversary. I think he's had one scene with Nicole. Smitty has one scene with Nicole. And that was that. All the other scenes are with the grandparents. At least Vernon and Martin. Not saying that there aren't you could be closer to your grandparents, but a lot of times it's because they kind of been the foster parent because of what the parent was not able to do. So it's like, okay, and you can still have a great connection and still have a great relationship with your parents. It just seems a little bit odd. It's like, are they gonna have this conversation? The grandparents gonna have this conversation with Nicole and Ted, like they do with Danny and everybody else? I have to see, because I'm just not convinced. It looks like Ted is a girl dad. I just don't see any connection going on there, and it's a little bit odd. But y'all let me know what y'all think. Do y'all think grandma's the baby? Shout out to Jocelyn Hernandez. I don't know. Let's see what else. So Naomi finally makes her decision, and she goes to see Bill. Thomas interrupts them, and Bill thinks that Naomi's there to kind of reconcile. Naomi didn't even give that type of flow, but he just thought seeing the daughter there that, she must want to make things right. Not at all. So Thomas comes in and says that they're being sued. And they soon find out it's Naomi is the attorney overseeing this lawsuit. The next episode, Smitty, he ends up confronting Martin in regards to this presidential stuff because he's like, how come you never told me anything about that? He said, all I've told was my grandparents, and he said someone else. I've been really keeping it a tight circle. And I would have been like, so I'm not your tight circle? The one you have vows with, that we share children with? I'm not your tight circle? And it's a very one-sided type of situation where you can go pursue your goals and dreams, but I can't. But Martin's like, well, we agreed upon this. Well, now it's time's up for negotiation. That's what's up. People evolve. People have different things going on with their lives. He asked, since you hid this from me, what else are you hiding from me? Haley and Jacob. Oh. Haley sees Jacob out, I think, at one of the restaurants or whatever. And they have a little small talk, and Haley was like, how can we get Bill and Naomi talking again? He's like, I don't know. Like, I don't think that that's going to happen, and for what's coming up, it's not going to happen. She didn't know what Jacob was talking about, but we knew what he was talking about, that lawsuit. Later on, Smitty and Martin is like, for whatever reason now, I was trying to get back into journalism, and you're doing your thing with this political stuff as president. We don't really open up with each other. And we don't open up about each other about what's important to us. It's like, for my man, you cannot punish me for my man. Oh, never mind. Yeah, so the question remains like, what is important to us as far as us being husbands, Anyways, later on we get on to Bill's office because he's reacting to Naomi doing this lawsuit or whatever. And he's trying every angle to try to get Naomi to back down. And his first one was trying to say that you cannot punish me for my marriage and what happened there. Since you can't do that, you'll try to punish me through my business. And Naomi said, that's not that. We're talking about your clients right here, your former employees that got fired. Bill says that has nothing to do with me. They got fired for good reasons. And we'll be able to prove if you're right or wrong in court in regards to that. Later on, after all the type of intimidation he was trying to bring on her, he ends up saying, that he thinks that this is a way for Naomi to get back into his life. Meaning that they finally will reconnect. I don't know where he got that from, whatever, but he's kind of cuckoo too. I think his screws a little bit loose, maybe not as loose as Danny's are, but it's just like, okay. All right, so the following day, Leslie tries to help Eva. Leslie got on a new wig and a new identity. I don't understand why a wig is the only thing to kind of differentiate, and nobody knows who she is in this town just because of a wig. Like, now she's Anna. She sees, or Anna, whatever you want to call her. She sees Kat out and introduces herself as Eva's aunt and says that her sister has passed away and all that. Can't you have compassion for her and can't you help her along the way? Kat's like, I don't see it for her. I think that there's something totally suspicious of her, blah, 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 da, 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 da. And at the end of the day, just said, it looks like you're not budging at all, and I will leave. Ted sees her, and he's going to confront her, but we're going to get to that later on. Kat hatches a scheme of her own. Later on, she goes back to the office and puts the camera in there, and she's trying to catch Eva doing something. It's just like, Kat, you're going way too hard. I actually know how you feel about the whole situation, but you're making yourself look crazy. And these folks really like this girl, and it's just going to blow up in your face. So, as Martin and Smitty, they're going through their things in regards to how that they are going to be able to trust each other, even with They go out to eat. I think they did. They did go out to eat. I'd have to make sure. Yeah. They go out to eat. Everything's supposed to be fine. They were kind of getting to a neutral place. But it looks like to me, Smitty is more understanding. Martin is still trying to control the situation, and he's still not being 100% vulnerable to Smitty. We end up seeing the guy that was at Bill and Haley's wedding says that he's got a job offer for Smitty, if you remember that a few weeks back. So, of course, Martin gets nervous right away. And he says, I did have a job offer for you as far as this journalism piece, but Martin already said that you weren't really interested in it, and you have all this stuff going on. So then Smitty said, really, Martin? So he said, well, things have opened up for me, and I might be interested. And Evan is his name. Says, okay, cool. Well, I need an answer really quickly because you do have other people that I am viewing that are up for this position. And they said, okay. So then from that point on, with a lot, can we really trust each other? And why did you really do this? Like, Smitty be on Martin's tail. And Martin be trying to skate out of situations with his answers, and he's not really integral and as far as his motive. Because he's like, why would you do this? Da, 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 da. Anyways, Eva and Leslie, they have a talk. Eva says, I don't think that you should try to embarrass Ted in public. I think you should really do it in private. And Leslie said, oh no, I gotta do this. After all that he's put me through, blah, 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 blah. And why would you want that to happen? Because it could blow up in your face. And she's like, well, what about the long-term goals as far as getting money, getting all this stuff? She says, no, this is the perfect way, Leslie does, to force him into giving you your birthright. I don't understand. But it just seems like you really want to humiliate this man. And doesn't look like he's hard to get along with. It's just you've been difficult in this whole situation because you still want the man. But anyways, we're going to get to him and her and Ted later on and all that good stuff. Eva says, I'm just not sure about that. So, after Danny tells Chelsea that everything's good, go live your life, do your thing, she's back at home. She's looking at her old modeling photos and drinking her heart away. Nicole comes by to see her. Nicole is connected to her sister. And I have some thoughts about it. Do you just think that this is just a sisterly connection? I'm just going to be there for you. Is this a older sister, I'm responsible type of deal? And is Nicole tired at all about that? Like, she tried to talk to her and give her, not life lessons, but things to really practice or to even help her out. Without diagnosing, she does tell her, Danny still wants to be married to Bill. And Nicole said that this is an addiction. You have a codependence. And then she's giving off different signs so that that this is not really healthy. And Danny agrees to every sign that's happened. Yeah, I know that, blah, 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 but that does not erase what I feel. And Nicole said this is not about erasing what you feel, but you're just really stuck here and not really moving on. If I could just transpose over to, what's-her-face? Beverly Hills. There's a codependency between Dorit and PK. He tried to break that up. But for some reason, she's still hanging on. For whatever reason. I thought of that while I was watching the show. Yeah, I talked about Katten and Anna. Jacob. Oh, Marcel tried to be nice to Jacob per Elon's rules or warning to him. And Jacob ends up going back to Elon and saying, hey, I really want to fight my own battles. I don't need you doing that. And just leave it all alone. Because Marcel gave him coffee, gave him, I guess, what exactly Jacob likes in his coffee and all that stuff. And Jacob was still skeptical of him. And Marcel says, how I was treating you earlier, I was just hazing you. He's like, well, I'm not a part of some type of fraternity. This is just a job, blah, 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 blah. But yeah. Um, Haley, she goes and visits Naomi and basically says, don't try to punish Bill with this lawsuit because of your own personal stuff. Let's stop all that. And basically, she's just Mrs. Bill, whatever his last name is, Hamilton. Yeah. And saying, look, if you're not going to back off, the gloves are coming off. So we're going to sue you and all that. Basically, Haley's trying to operate in an authority that she doesn't really have. And when people really just don't take to her, she gets frustrated. You know, Naomi did say that, I don't know if I'm more frustrated with you or with my father, because you were my best friend and you did that. And then, of course, she said, look, we were in love. I still need some flashbacks because of how delusional these folks want to play. I just, it's so crazy. You're in their house and y'all just fell in love one day. I mean, love don't happen overnight, so obviously something's been going on. You knew something was up. I hope we get some flashbacks. So Smitty and Martin, they get home and they see Samantha and they ask where Tyrell is, and they said he's upstairs and I guess he's going to sleep. They said, well, it's quite, let me go up there and see about him. Right outside, Ted runs into Leslie, or Dana as he calls her. On the final day, Vanessa is suspicious of Doug and Joey in regards to all these questions and all that. We see her on her phone looking at this gambling game. I need to know if Veronica is really a part of this whole situation with Doug and this addiction, because I've asked this question, like, is she a part of this or what? Leslie and Ted, they go head to head. We find out that Ted knew that Dana was pregnant, but he paid her to go away and to also have an abortion. I said, y'all are really ruining it for me. I was trying to find some way to root for Ted, but then she says, yes, I did get an abortion. So is it true that she got an abortion? And is it true that Eva is actually her sister's child? Because something's not right with this whole situation. You're still leading him on that he doesn't have a child. And he asked, what is it going to take for you to get away or go away? And she said, $50K. And he said, he'll do that. It's going to be through my lawyer. And she was like, you can have my Cash App and all that. He said, no, I'm not crazy and all that. So leave a paper trail, da-da-da-da. At the office, Bill is hugging this woman after she thanks him for whatever he did for her. Haley sees that and is really perplexed. The woman leaves, and then they finally hash it out. She's trying to figure out what's going on here. It was totally innocent. He's trying to get a potential client, and he's getting information out of the wife. He was trying to get the husband out of this whole situation. Now that he's gotten this information, he can use it to possibly be the one to get this man as his client, which I think is still slimy, but however they're writing the situation, whatever. Dana does leave his site as far as with Ted right after he says he wants the money. Nicole and Eva. Oh, Nicole invites Eva to dinner with her, Ted, and Kat. She ends up declining that or whatever. Nicole asks, has there been any word from a woman named Sherry Carter? And Eva says no. Nicole says, don't worry about Kat. Ted and I know you, and we're good on you, and all that good stuff. Back at Smitty and Martin's home, Tyrell tells the parents that he popped a willy and ended up getting a black eye, as they saw with the black eye in the last episode. Nobody's buying it, thank God, but they didn't press him anymore and allowed him to go upstairs. Martin tried to press Samantha, but Samantha was ride or die for her brother. So while Ted and Nicole and Kat are out, Kat is watching her camera that she has her phone, that she's trying to set Eva up. And they trying to get her to stop being in her phone. And then she said, when finally Eva's there, you know what, we got to go home right now. Eva and Ted were kind of lagging along. Kat gets back to the office home. And she's asking where Eva is. Eva catches the camera, and then all of a sudden she dips out of the office. What Eva was doing, she was reading the file, and it's the file on her mother. And that's what Kat was seeing. But anyways, finally Ted and Nicole get to the house, and they're asking, what in the world, why are we here, and what did you want us to see? So she's trying to get her phone together, and then you see that there's some devastated look on her face. Eva gets back home, and she says that I saw your daddy, and he said that he would give $50K in regards to as payback for child support and all that stuff. That's not what he said, because he don't even know that this child is live. So this girl is really manipulating things. I really don't think that Eva is Ched's child, but we shall see. Smitty. Oh, Samantha and Tyrell. Samantha goes up and sees Tyrell, and finally Tyrell tells Samantha what's going on, and she promises to keep it a secret. He was in the locker room changing room, and he was getting undressed, and some students there took a photo of him. They ended up sending it to one of the popular girls in school, and the popular girl thought, the boyfriend of the popular girl thought he had sent it, and now that they've been on his tail since then. But he doesn't want Martin or anyone to come through to try to be savior, because he doesn't really know how to get out of this situation. I think it's crazy, because really those students have broken some laws. This is not just some bullying. Bullying is bad enough, but they ended up snapping photos of him while he's in the locker room. That's not good. Bill and Haley think that Chelsea is open enough to try to rebuild their relationship or whatever. So that was about it for the episode, for this week's episodes. I thought it was pretty good. And as far as information, of course, there wasn't a lot of drama per se, but a lot of dialogue and as I said, pushing story forward. I'm interested to see this Bill and Naomi situation happen. I think Haley is still trying to find her footing. Danny is very complex, and I like the way that they're telling the story, and it's not just some easy fix as to what's happening. I'm glad that Nicole stays on her and sticks by her side. Martin really just rubs me the wrong way as to how he treats his husband. Right now, I think that there's just some type of Band-Aid over the situation with them in order to help Tyrell. They think it's just bullying, but there's more to the story. But tell me, what was your favorite scenes or favorite stories this week? And that's all I do have. But I appreciate everyone for coming here. Like this video, subscribe, and get in them comments. Until next week, peace.